The man behind it was a utopian visionary who had worked as an engineer in the US military. He was called Buckminster Fuller. "I will make my life an experiment," he said, "to search for the principles that govern the universe." Fuller had invented a radically new kind of structure that was based on the underlying system of order in nature. It was called a geodesic dome. It was very simple but incredibly strong. Giant geodesic domes were built to house the radar installations for America's early warning system in the Arctic.
These are what we call geodesic radomes, and they are designed to protect very powerful and important apparatus from the great storms of nature. We think of structures as being something very powerful, but these are very delicate. Yet they've been through about 10 years of the most formidable conditions in the Arctic that any structures have ever had to stand. But I'm not a dome salesman. I'm an explorer in structures. I'm interested in the fundamental principles by which nature holds her shapes together.
Fuller's geodesic domes imitated the idea of the ecosystem. Each tiny strut was weak, but when thousands were joined to form a giant interconnecting web, they became strong and stable. Fuller believed that this principle of copying nature could be applied not just to structures, but to creating new systems to manage societies. But in order to do this, Fuller realized that there was going to have to be a conceptual shift in the way human beings saw their position in the world. Instead of seeing themselves as members of nations or classes or hierarchies of power, people should instead see themselves as equal members of a global system. To persuade them, Fuller used the image of the spacecraft that NASA had built to take Americans to the moon. NASA had employed ecologists to help design a closed system for the astronauts inside the cabin. It was constantly monitored by computers to keep it in perfect balance. And in 1964, Fuller wrote a manifesto called the Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth. It said that the world should be seen as one giant spaceship, and that all human beings should try and manage that global system so it was kept in a perfect balance, just like the tiny cabin of the spacecraft.
If man is going to stay on board our spaceship Earth, it can't be done by politics, because politics is so inadequate. And this cannot be commanded by politics, because a politician doesn't know about such a thing. He has to go on what have you, which is the kind of design he now has. So all he can do is give you war.